press mobbed him, shouting, "Did he solo an A-rank gate and clap an S-rank hunter? Is he sandbagging his real awakening level?" He used to think being a hunter was just luck and faking it. But deep down, he felt like a total fraud. If they found out he was just an F-rank, the S-rankers he beat would probably hunt him down for payback. That one top-tier hunter from the gate would never drop it. He started thinking he might actually be cursed or something, with reporters grilling him. He just dropped his head. This whole misunderstanding was becoming a massive headache, trapped in this hunter life. He looked grim and finally snapped at them, saying, "No comment. You pesky vultures." Their shock turned into a frenzy of questions. He then added, "I'm not staying on this garbage heap of a planet for much longer. It all went sideways when I tried to quit. The truth is, my dude wasn't even from around here, back on Alfri. He was the top wizard. A super big deal. But one day he was just like, I gotta quit this awful job." His job was basically glorified community service. He could literally work to death and not make a single cent. He had to grind 640 days a year with 0 holidays. Thanks to new tech, sleep and food weren't even a thing anymore. So endless, overtime was the new normal. Seriously. When was the last time he'd even clocked out on time? The real problem was how to actually quit. With his rank, it wasn't simple. They had crazy rules to stop top-tier guys from just ditching their posts. For instance, if he even thought about using teleport magic, a nasty jolt of electricity would zap his brain. And if he did escape, there was literally nowhere he could go hide. The big bosses controlled every inch of the planet. What if he offed his superior? Nope. He was locked down by some serious magic, unable to hurt anyone from his world. Not even himself, making an easy way out impossible. While he was racking his brain for an escape plan, a light bulb went off in his head. They could bind his body with magic, but his soul. That was a whole other story. No spell could ever trap a soul, meaning it could bolt freely. After 10 long years of non-stop trial and error, he finally perfected his own special magic Soul-Jutsu. By literally yeeting his soul from his body, he could zip to a faraway planet where no one could track him. And it worked. With this move, he became the first ever to pull off real possession and reincarnation. He groggily came to and noticed something that looked like a long, wiggling protein bar. Then it hit him. The original soul must have just bailed out of this body recently. He checked himself out in the mirror, liking what he saw. He tried to download the host's memories but got nothing. All of a sudden, he grabbed his stomach in agony, covered his mouth, and started to black out. That's when it dawned on him this body had starved to death. He'd set one condition before starting his reincarnation, aiming for the being with the most magic power on the planet. He figured if that was met, the most intelligent species would naturally be the one chosen. But he never thought to check the body's condition. He assumed it wouldn't matter if it was even a single-celled amoeba. It felt like his stomach was full of battery acid. He painfully dragged himself out of the bed, realizing his magic was glitching post-reincarnation, and he'd need time to sync up with this new planet's. With his magic, he stumbled forward, needing to get some food in him. He reached the door and yanked it open. The sunlight hit him like a truck. His old home was a soupy, dark place where starlight was a rare treat. It was a gloomy, blue-tinted world. But this place was the total opposite. Everything felt bright and warm. The air was light and dry. The ground solid under his feet. But none of that mattered. His top priority was finding Chow. But after searching high and low, there was nothing to eat. So, naturally, he started screaming his head off. He realized it was no surprise the body's previous owner had starved. His vision was turning gray and he clutched his stomach in agony. He knew if this kept up, he'd starve to death all over again. That's when his desperate eyes locked onto a bug. It was pathetically small. But beggars can't be choosers. He snatched the bug, opened his maw wide, and was about to say, "Bon appétit, I guess." Just then, he spotted a kid strolling by, munching on something he held in his hands. He yeeted the bug, realizing that was real food and probably tasted way better. Drool started pouring from his mouth as he stared. He thought, to steal or not to steal? A nearby poster read, "Spot a creep, call 122 and report them right away." Our alien creepily tailed the boy, until the kid suddenly stopped and glanced back over his shoulder, and froze in terror seeing a super sketchy guy right behind him. The kid took off running, and our guy tried to stop him, totally confused. He then spotted a nearby plant. He figured eating a plant was better than mugging a kid for his snacks. but he froze when a loud noise cut through the air. He figured it was the kid screaming and went to see what was up. The kid was trembling in fear because a massive monster was standing right there in front of him. The beast lunged for the boy, jaws wide open, but only snagged his backpack, sending the kid tumbling to the pavement. The monster overshot and landed behind him, missing again. As the kid quickly scrambled to his feet, running and screaming as the kid booked it toward him. He looked at the beast, thinking this planet was a real dump. If you could run into something like this just by strolling around, then it hit him. Maybe this was actually a good thing. After all, this body remembered eating birds. He smirked, thinking, finally, a wild animal that's actually worth hunting. As the strongest grand sorcerer, he could waste that thing with a sneeze. He grinned, feeling confident. He figured once he got used to the magic here, conquering this tiny planet would be a cakewalk. The monster was now right in front of him, and he could feel its magic. It was insanely powerful. He was shocked, feeling it surge through every single cell in his body. He was sure this was Earth's magic. But then he just collapsed. The sheer power was way too much for him to handle. He figured if other planets were tiny buckets of magic, this place felt like diving headfirst into an entire swimming pool. Kim Jarek was hyped, wondering how a place this rich could even exist. It was a jackpot. His eyes were practically sparkling. He thought that with so much magic flowing around, he was basically unstoppable. Just then, the kid called out, "Hey, mister," and begged for help. But Kim Jarek just stood there silently, totally annoyed. Like, what does this kid even want from him? He finally caved and agreed to help. But with one condition: hand over what you're holding. The kid just looked confused, a weird plea. Then a monster behind the kid tried to bust loose. The tyke ran to Kim Jarek, bawling, "You can have it, please. Just let me live." The kid zipped behind him. Kim Jarek glanced down, stating firmly, "Just hang back for a sec." As the big boss of the 1st Mage Division, a dude who guards an entire planet, he figured he could wreck this thing with a flick of his wrist and turn its bones to dust. But nothing happened. He scratched his head, totally confused. He started thinking, maybe this new place was messing with his mojo. He tried to summon his magic again, but zilch. No response. After trying again and again, the horrifying truth finally hit him. His magic was totally useless here. So, our boy Kim Jarek started booking it from the monster, yelling for help. Suddenly, he was staring down the grill of a car, whose driver slammed the brakes just in time to not make him a pancake. The driver started laying into him, clueless about the giant monster problem over their heads. The beast kept on chasing him, forcing him to make a snap decision and peel out in another direction. Out of nowhere, the monster made its move, smashing the car with its claws, then got right back on his tail, making him sprint away from the terrifying beast. Even when he hit the main road, the monster was still hot on his heels. Not giving up, he was running on empty and felt super weak, but knew he had to keep going to escape this thing's clutches. He decided to switch it up again. The monster got ready, launching itself into the air and soaring above him before dive-bombing from the sky. A wave of panic hit him. He was sure he was about to become Monster Chow. Then, a sharp pain blasted through his gut, and he wondered if his body had some kind of weak spot. Just as the beast was about to strike, he collapsed to the ground, making the monster slam face first into a wall. As it got tossed aside, a bright aura started flaring up from his body, covering his ears. He cracked his eyes open to see the monster lying dead beside him. He walked over, totally stunned. Wait, did that monster just fly into a wall all by itself? Was it seriously just a dumb bird? He thought about how ridiculous it was for a bird to fly at a crazy angle, crash into a wall, and just DFT. He wanted to ask Earth's top nerds how such a brainless monster could even exist. His stomach rumbled as he eyed the creature hungrily, thinking it had to be an edible bird. He got closer, but then a voice suddenly called out to him. When he spun around, he was shocked to see a girl just staring at him, amazed. It reminded her of when she was a kid, yelling to her buddies, shouting that some old dude got nabbed instead of her. While running, the kid had been all like, "We can't be late." She asked the guard if this was the last known spot. He gave a solid yes, without a beat. She told her team to hold their position, the beginner killer, a bird monster from the sandy desert gate, was first an E-rank monster, one you could take down with normal guns on Earth. But its rank suddenly jumped to C rank. Thanks to its missile-like charging speed, she sprinted, her mind racing. Any hunter below C rank would get wiped out before they could even see what hit them. They had to move fast to stop anyone from getting hurt. However, by the time she got there, she was floored to see him standing over the defeated monster. She couldn't help but wonder if he had done that, a feat he did solo. Just then, a guard shows up with a kid, who's hyped he found what he thinks is a cop. The guard gives him props for the hard work, saying they got a call about a monster on the loose and booked it over here. Luckily, a hunter was close by. But the word hunter just made his brain totally short-circuit with confusion, as his memory banks were totally blank. While the guard thanked him for bagging the beast, she couldn't help but wonder how he'd managed to nab it so quickly. Did this dude really just happen to run into the monster by pure chance? The beginner killer's turf is a sandy gate, the kind where your feet sink with every single step, which makes it super easy for the monster to ambush you. On solid ground, you could take it out hands-free with the right angle, but that takes some serious eyesight to track its crazy fast moves. When she got a closer look, she realized he'd killed it with a proper technique. If that's the case, she mused, this dude should probably be at least S rank. He told them to hang on and called to the kid with the tiny face. The boy held out his hand, reminding him not to forget about their deal. After a bit of hesitation, he passed over the bottle, and when Kim Jae-rok started chugging it, he was totally amazed by the taste. He exclaimed, "It's been ages since he evolved into a body that doesn't even need food." And yet here he was, with this unbelievably delicious drink. Shocked, Sen-won wondered if he just stole the kid's snack. The kid wailed, "My fresh tangerine juice." Just then, Sen-won called out to him, holding out her hand to introduce herself. She's with the Hunter Association, and her name is Sen-won. They go ahead and shake hands, and adds that he dealt with that monster without a single scratch. Wiping her hands, she admits she doesn't recognize his face. She then asks if he's a freelance hunter and if he could please show her his official hunter ID, explaining she needs it to file a report with the association. Standing there, he's totally lost and thinks he's just got to lie his way out of this. He's like, "Whoops. Sorry. I don't have my hunter ID on me right now." She replies that she'll just look him up in the association's hunter registry. Then she just asks him what his name is. But my dude doesn't even know this body's name yet. Confused, she stares at him and asks if he's even registered as a hunter or taken the awakening test. She yells at him, "Don't tell me you used awakened powers on a main road without even being registered." Then she hits him with, "That's super illegal. You know." He has absolutely no clue what she is talking about. But how did he get into this mess? He's like, "No. Of course I'm registered. I just left my hunter ID back at my place. If she just waits here, he'll go grab it real quick." He bolts, thinking he's never walking down this street again. When he gets home, he finds an ID with his name, Kim Caro. But there's absolutely no sign of a hunter ID anywhere. Looks like this body really never went through hunter registration. He then looks at all this junk, totally confused. Why is there so much of this stuff? As he checks out the pile, it hits him. They're all cigarettes. The owner of this body was a total chain smoker. He gets so mad when he realizes just how much this dude used to smoke. For wizards, smoking is super dangerous, since they combine their internal magic with nature's external magic to cast their spells, depending majorly on the respiratory system, specifically the lungs. He roared in rage, realizing that's why magic was a no-go. He wondered what kind of maniac would go and absolutely trash their own lungs. Back in Alfri, where basically everyone used magic, a move like that would be completely insane. He thought they were just primitive, but he never guessed they'd be this nuts. Our guy took a sec to get himself together, letting out a huge sigh. He thought, what's done is done. So what am I gonna do about it now? His bad for being so hyped by all the magic that he missed the body's defects. He thought to himself, there's gotta be some kind of fix for this. I mean, he did escape from that place. After all, he couldn't just give up over something so minor. He was determined to spend the rest of his days in this new world, and he was gonna live happily. Dang it. The officer then asked him, "A smart dude like you, why'd you do that?" He just offered up an apology. Roughly 10 minutes had passed since the one-on-one investigation. A mom and her kid were staring at him all confused. And suddenly he felt super hungry. He figured he had a mountain of stuff to learn about Earth. But first, He had to find a way to deal with this whole malnutrition problem. Then he smelled the sweet scent of food coming from a pork soup place close by. As the owner served him up a steaming hot bowl, he realized, so there was food this close the whole time. He'd gone through all that trouble for nothing without a clue. As he dug in, he was shook. This soup was incredible. It was hot but exploding with flavor, even as his mouth was tingling from the heat. But he couldn't stop eating. His hands were moving on their own. He thought he might actually be falling in love with this food. It was just that amazing. A little while later, he found himself at the police station where a cop asked him, "Is the economy that bad or something? For a young guy like you to dine and dash." He replied that he had genuinely just forgotten to pay. Just then, another cop recognized him and asked, "Hey, aren't you that hunter from earlier?" He told Kim Jae-rok not to do it again, saying he'd let him go with a warning since it was a first offense. Kim Jae-rok, all flustered, promised he would definitely pay the restaurant. Then, with a hopeful gaze, he asked if he was free to leave. He took a card from his pocket, saying, "Before you leave, this is from the investigation earlier. Looks like you aren't a registered hunter with the association. You must have awakened not too long ago." He then said, "Go visit the Awakening Examination Center. And don't sweat it. The exam fee is totally free." As Kim Jae-rok was leaving, feeling curious, Kim Jae-rok had to wonder what this whole awakening thing was that everyone kept talking about. Was it something people on Earth were just supposed to know? They were being so insistent. Should he give it a shot? A little later, he was standing right in front of the Awakening Examination Center. Then it all came back. Kim Jae-rok had been here, and his rank was a measly F rank. The memory hit him. Kim Jae-rok was an F rank awakened. Someone called out to him, saying that they were meeting again. It was none other than Sen Won. She smiled, asking, "What brings you to the association?" She then added, "Since you're here anyway, can I finally get my hunter's license now?" He remembered he had lied before about bringing her hunter's license. Luckily for him, he'd recovered some memories, so he could be honest this time. He just replied that he was really sorry about before. He fessed up, saying that was just panic talking. The truth is, he doesn't have a hunter's license. She wondered why he never came back. He shot back that he was registered as an awakened person, though he just didn't get the card because he was bummed about his test results. She was lost. So he clarified his rank was F. Shocked, she grilled him. "You're F rank? Then how'd you even catch that beginner killer?" He claimed it was a total fluke, explaining some dumb bird just face-planted a wall, all on its own. She stood there, mulling over a beginner killer, failing to adapt and just offing itself. Cases like that did happen, so it wasn't impossible. But the guy she saw had a face so chill, you'd think he slays hundreds of S-rank beasts without a hint of fear. She couldn't shake the feeling, wondering why on earth he was trying so hard to hide his real rank. Most people who conceal their awakening level are shady characters involved in some illegal business. Could this guy be one of them? She nervously stammered that she got it. He remarked that they were. Beginner killers were infamous for their low IQ. He mused that Earthlings use subtle face muscles for emotions. He realized he should probably learn expressions like that to seem a bit more approachable. All fired up, he decided to give it a shot. He said, "That's right," adding with a psycho grin that he was super lucky. The second she saw his smile, a wave of pure terror hit her. Thinking, this dude is 100% sketchy. She fumbled in her jacket, her mind racing, thinking she had to bail from this situation safely for now. Turning back to him, she said she forgot to give him something. She then asked for his name. He replied, "It's Kim Creo." She then slapped some cash into his hand. He was ecstatic, thinking what universe has a custom of greeting with money. He asked her straight up why she was giving him this. She told him he'd left the beginner killer's body behind earlier. She explained that she handled the disposal and that this was his cut of the money from it. He was practically drooling, thinking about the food he ate before getting nabbed that morning. With just this flimsy piece of paper, he knew he could score 6 whole bowls of soup. Kim Jae-rok told her he couldn't believe that bird was worth so much cash. Then he asked, "Are the feathers pricey?" She said no. Beginner killers have squishy bodies, so they're not valuable as products. He noted he was lucky it had a magic stone, since C-rank magic stones go for 2 million won. He asked, "Hold on a minute. 2 million won, but my share is only 50,000 won." She clarified that the damage costs from when he caught the beast were all processed under her name. Then she laid into him, saying if a certain someone hadn't fled, They could have gotten legal hunter immunity. He just apologized to her. She turned to bounce, saying, "It's fine. Have a nice afternoon." But her rage flared up as she screamed, 2,000,001. You say? He thought that back home, that bird's head was basically the same as a bug crawling on the sidewalk. He felt a jolt of pure hype, realizing that 2,000,001 was just for snapping a bird's neck. That's 75 bowls of soup and rice. You need cash to survive. And he came to this earth for the good life. To finally live out his ideal. For this lifestyle, he knew he needed more cash. So becoming a hunter was a must. Honestly, until lunchtime today. His future looked totally grim. The owner of this body was flat broke. A bowl of soup would have emptied their wallet. But things were different now. He knew being a hunter could actually rake in some serious cash. In that case, he'd just hunt with magic and make a living. Standing right in the middle of the street, he figured that while magic wasn't working yet, he'd need a good supply of monsters. Then he spotted a gate. But with so many people around, getting in would be a pain. He wondered if other gates were nearby. Sensing the mana, he realized there was, in fact, another gate close by. A little while later, he was trekking through the forest, wiping his brow, 'cause that steep hill almost did him in. As he passed a sealed-off area and got near the gate, he muttered to himself that these earthlings sure had a weird sense of style. He just had to ask, why in the world are they decorating the plants? A bit later, a party gathered at that very same gate, and a kid was on the phone with his manager, telling him they had just gotten to the gate. His name was Yunnan, and the guy on the phone asked if any civilians were around. He said it was all good. The control line was set up tight. The caller told him anyway. These mutations were a real pain. He'd lost track of how many times the rank had changed just this month. Yunnan told him not to sweat it. They would kick off the investigation immediately. He hung up and turned to his crew, saying, "All right, let's move out." As they stepped inside the gate, a nasty stench hit them. The cave reeked from the summer heat. He told them that according to the readings, the internal magic density was at a D-rank dungeon level. Our boy piped up, saying it was always like this. It had pretty much become the standard rule. Yunnan started to check out the cave, and then nervously said, maybe they should take it a bit slower, 'cause they seemed to be moving too fast. Our boy looked at him, asking, "What's the holdup, bro?" He told them they'd walked a good ways with no sign of monsters, so it was probably all clear. Our guy noted his youth but couldn't get why he was always so chicken. Just then, Yuno noticed something right behind him. Meanwhile, a huge monster was looming right behind the kid, about to strike. At the same time, Kim Jaruk walked on ahead, wondering if he'd accidentally gone too deep into the cave. Why hadn't he run into a single monster yet? Moving forward, he sensed the mana in the air. Though faint and kinda raw, the mana gave off a seriously powerful vibe. He followed the trail, wondering if it might belong to a person. When he finally reached the source of the mana, he saw that someone else had already entered the gate. He peeked over the rocks and saw a rock golem facing a dungeon party. The monster stood there, menacingly, having just taken out the other kid, leaving everyone completely freaked out by the sight. Yunnan yelled at them, telling them not to freak out and to get a grip. But before he could even finish, a massive attack came flying right at him. He saw it just in time and tried to block the hit, succeeding. But he was still sent flying backward. Mustering all his strength, he powered up and leaped at the monster, landing a heavy blow on it. Off to the side, Kim Jaruk watched the fight. Yun Sung, he stood over the downed beast, all emo about his fallen comrade. Then some other guy just had to chime in. Totally expected from Yun Sung. He's a defensive class. But hey, an A rank is still an A rank. He said he'd go grab Kian's body and told them to start heading out. But plot twist, the golem rebooted, and our hero was caught off guard. The beast snatched him up and just body slammed him into the dirt, making him spit up some of that classic red life juice. While his team freaked out and screamed his name, the monster lined them up for round 2. Sensing the major danger, this other dude whipped out his sword and charged the thing. But his blade just exploded on contact. Oof. He got yeeted across the room and knocked out cold from the hit. Meanwhile, the girl was just frozen solid with pure terror. Glancing back at the monster winding up a haymaker just for her, she let out a classic horror movie scream. But right then, Yunnan popped out of nowhere, using himself as a meat shield. He held the beast back and yelled, "This is your cue. Use the binding spell." He screamed that he couldn't hold this thing for long and that they were all totally gonna bite the dust. He barely kept it together, saying their whole squad was about to get deleted. He yelled, "Let's go," but when he looked back, he saw her straight up bailing. As she ran, all he could think was, "Dude, don't leave us like this." The monster smashed his shield to bits and pancaked him on the floor, leaving him wheezing and spitting blood. Lying there, broken, he slowly shut his eyes, realizing the betrayal didn't make him mad. Just completely hollow inside. Big oof. He got his A-rank awakening from that whole dungeon break thing. Offers from all the top-tier guilds began to flood his inbox, with each offer better than the last. He networked like a pro, built a squad, and started racking up gate conquest achievements. Everything was looking super peachy. But who knew he'd wind up in a mess like this? Right, in such a pathetic way. He chucked a rock at the monster, and yup, it looked right at him. Kim Jae-rok was like, "Okay, I seriously can't watch this anymore," he thought. "Is this really how you Earthlings roll? Well, thanks to them." His analysis was complete. It's obvious up close. But man, this thing is a total dinosaur, isn't it? But whatever. He figured it didn't really matter. He smirked. "Fancy meeting you here. Golem." So, golems are basically clay dolls juiced up on mana. Back in Alfri, they do everything from chores and deliveries to full-on war, basically running a whole nation built on golem power. Even though his major was golem weaponry, he figured the lack of monsters around here was 'cause this golem's on security detail. This gate is apparently private property. With the guard awake, bailing on this party won't be easy, which means he's got to throw down with it. Since he's got no magic, he had to get creative. As the golem dove in for a grab, he expertly dodged its fist with a quick sidestep. The golem swung again. He dodged again, but as it wound up another punch, the golem's fist just cratered the ground with a huge impact. Our boy, Kim Jae-rok, was getting gassed, but was still feeling cocky. Even with the odds stacked against him, he could juke the golem's attacks, using its huge, clumsy body against it. But his stamina bar was flashing red. All of a sudden, the golem attacked, and Kim ducked as its whole frame trembled, sending shockwaves rippling out in front of him. The golem swung its arm, then stepped back, winding up for another big hit. As it slammed the ground to make some space, in a wild twist, Kim hit the deck right when the golem's fist got totally jammed, which totally filled him with glee. He was all like, "Oh, stopping this thing is easy. That huge gem on its arm wasn't just for show. You see, it's actually a super fancy magical energy detection sensor." 2. All he had to do was punch in the emergency stop code. Now, for security, only its owner and maker are supposed to know that little cheat code. But a clunky model like this, he could crack it in a second. At last, our boy Kim Jae-rok started working his alien magic, making the big guy just keel over. He hopped on top, pointing out that, since he just hit the emergency stop, it wasn't fully off yet. The golem wasn't completely powered down. To take it fully offline, he'd have to yank the core right out of the middle of its back. So, Kim Jae-rok scrambled up the golem's body, grumbling about how he really didn't want to do this barehanded with zero tools. But hey, what choice did he have? With a grunt, he pried off the plate, protecting the core, grabbed it, and ripped it clean from the golem, which powered down instantly. For our alien dude Kim Jae-rok, this supposedly impossible job was actually a total piece of cake. Meanwhile, Yoon-sung was still knocked out cold on the floor. Slowly, his hand twitched. He was stirring, as a memory of his mother's words surfaced. She'd said she got his whole hunter dream thing but wondered if he knew how dangerous it was. Of course, he just brushed off her concerns, telling her that, hey, despite how it looks, he was an A-rank awakened. She admitted he was strong, but added that she wasn't just worrying for nothing. And while she respected his decision, a piece of her couldn't stop thinking about what would happen if it all went south. He took her hand, telling her not to sweat it, vowing he'd make it big as a hunter and just asking her to trust him this one time. As he got ready to go, he said he was heading out, but she stopped him, gently telling him to be safe. Back in the present, he rose slowly, his body shaking, then just froze, completely baffled. As he looked up to see our alien dude posing on the defeated golem like a champ, he muttered, wondering if Kim Jae-rok actually took it down with his bare hands. But the real question was, how'd he even get in here? Yoon-sung was sure there was a security lineup, which made him wonder if maybe, just maybe, Kim Jae-rok was secretly a hunter. He watched Kim hop down and start walking his way. Yoon-sung was so wiped he could barely move. And suddenly, there was Kim, standing right over him, freaked out but frozen. He just watched as Kim offered a hand to help him up. Sometime later, on a rooftop, some guy was reading an article about Yoon-sung, complaining about the totally over-the-top headlines. He scoffed, asking if this was really the story Yoon-sung signed off on. Yoon-sung just shot back that the article wasn't what he thought it was, annoyed. The guy pushed, asking why the heck the story was being framed around his future. He knew some other hunter, not Yoon-sung, was the one who beat the monster. And it ticked him off that Yoon-sung didn't even know the guy's name. I mean, if they were really that strong, they'd be famous already. Right. He added that nobody even knew what this person looked like, hinting that they might be some kind of unregistered, off-the-books hunter. He told Yoon-sung that he was lucky the reporters were all focused on him, the A-ranker, monster, or else the whole situation could get messy. Frustrated, Yoonan angrily called out to the director, who calmly said his warning was for Yoonan's own good, adding this could only wreck his career. Even if the hunter was an A rank, any hint of weakness would make him an instant target for others. Yoonan knew this all too well. Yet he still refused the credit for nabbing the golem. Instead, he listened quietly, then apologized, saying he felt he had to be honest. It was, in his mind, the bare minimum respect he could show that hunter, who seemed like someone who wouldn't stoop to illegal stuff. The director then questioned Yoonan, asking if he was 100% certain. Yoonan said, if the hunter had a grudge, he wouldn't be alive. He explained the hunter was a good guy and he truly wanted to repay him. Seeing how dead serious Yoonan was, the director finally got it. Yoonan then excused himself and took off. As he watched him leave, the director had to wonder about this hunter who'd easily clapped a golem that Yoonan's team struggled with. If such a strong and noble hunter was real, he hoped they'd cross paths someday. Elsewhere, our alien, Kim Jae-rok, was just lying in bed, staring at his phone and thinking that these earthlings were basically gods. The night before, he'd accidentally unlocked his smartphone, and it stayed that way all night long. He could access info freely, despite not being part of the elite class. He wondered if he'd stumbled into heaven. He added that thanks to this, he'd downloaded a ton of info. First off, the gate he walked into wasn't private property. Second, every gate had its own unique entry rules. Since Korea was a nation that managed awakeners super strictly, even getting into a gate needed prior approval. This approving group was called the Korea Hunter Association, or KHA for short. And finally, Yoonan wasn't just some petty thief trying to poach a claimed gate. He was a much bigger deal. He was shook when he saw Yoonan was an A-rank hunter, which made him decide he needed to get his hunter's license first. A little while later, out in a forest, a girl was explaining the theoretical safety training they'd conduct inside the gate to a group of people. She then announced the devices would be handed out soon and told everyone to hang tight. Our alien, Kim Jae-rok, looked pretty clueless. Basically, he got the gist: don't do dumb stuff in front of monsters. An officer then handed him a device, and Kim just stared at it, totally confused, shocked that Kim didn't know what it was. The officer sneered. Where have you been living? Under a rock? Did you just beam down from another planet? Or what? Kim quickly scanned his surroundings, realizing he might have just outed himself as not from around here. The officer went on. This is a basic analyzer. It runs on pixelless technology. A girl nearby released a swarm of butterflies, telling them to reflect the monster in the lens. Kim pointed the analyzer, which ID'd it as a grade F poison butterfly. He figured it out. So Earthlings use gadgets to identify what they're up against. The officer added that all analyzers not only ID monsters but also have item search functions, helping users find useful loot. He told them to look around and give it a whirl. So, Kim decided to analyze the officer. But the scanner came up blank, making him think it was useless on people. So, he zapped a nearby plant instead, which pinged as a heat fruit. a species with telltale red fibers. Kim thought to himself, so this is the item ID function. Alright. Then it should totally scan this too. And he pointed it at his own shadow. But the scanner gave him nada, saying it only tags useful stuff. He figured out it only pings on things juiced up with mana, basically sorting the magical goodies from the useless junk based on mana vibes. And while that was kinda handy, he also thought it was pretty sloppy. Since some useful things don't even have mana, his own dirt was a perfect example. It looked like regular old soil. But nope. It was packed with absorption magic. A super rare spell that just slurps up mana. He realized nobody around him had a clue about absorption magic, which was super weird to him. If this world's magic scene was even a little developed, they'd totally know absorption magic, he thought, baffled by how clueless they were. So, he excused himself. He walked up to an officer to ask something. The cop was cool with it. So, Kim asked when magic, or to be exact, Awakeners first popped up in Korea. The officer told him it all started just 7 years ago. Kicked off by dungeon shocks that made Awakeners appear all over the globe at once. Kim was floored, thinking to himself, hold on. It's only been 7 years. Magic history in Alfheim is over 60,000 years old. He got that he was living with magical cavemen this whole time, which explained the weird electrical vibes of their gadgets. As he processed this, he mused. Baby-level magic knowledge. But their tech is through the roof. It's wild how evolution went down such a bizarre path. Then, he scooped up a handful of that special dirt, thinking he could totally use this and nobody would ever get suspicious. In a job where you can make hundreds of millions if you're dedicated, being a hunter looks pretty sweet. But, unlike what you see on TV, life for low-rank hunters is usually a total nightmare. And to top it all off, one of his vessel's legs was busted, which meant he couldn't use any of his magic. At all. His cash was running low and starvation was knocking again. So he had to find a new way to make bank before it was game over, for the time being. He'd stockpiled a ton of mana with his absorption magic. And from what he'd found out, it looked like there were monsters on Earth that he could totally wreck with this power. However, these critters were hanging out in C-rank gates, and he was a lowly F rank. So he wasn't even allowed in. On top of that, he felt super sketchy about using absorption magic to farm mana without really getting Earth. And the fact this meat suit he was in was also F rank just made things a whole lot harder. All of a sudden, his phone went off, making him jump. It was an emergency alert about a dungeon break. Totally confused, he threw on his coat and bolted out the door, dying to see the madness for himself. Everyone was scrambling away from the area, cause of the dungeon break. He strolled right toward the crowd and spotted a massive tower with an A-rank beast on top. And then, out of nowhere, some dude shoved him aside, making him trip. The jerk who pushed him scoffed. I barely touched you. Man, they're the ones, making a scene and blocking the path. He sneered. What's with that face? You asking for a beatdown or something? He was totally confused since he was just watching the chaos go down. The goon remarked that he's got some serious attitude. The dude puffed his chest, saying he was a hunter and our boy was just some nobody loitering. He shot back that he's a hunter too. Here for the same show. The guy asked his rank, and he deadpanned. F rank. The dude's roaring laughter left him baffled by the weird reaction. Just then, he spotted some choppers flying in. They were locked in a wild fight with the monster. Then bam, one of the choppers got hit, spiraling down in a massive fireball. A moment later, hunter backup swarmed the area. The beast tried smashing the glass as everyone freaked out and ran for their lives. It broke through, whipping its tongue out and grabbing 2 poor civilians. It yanked them from the building as they screamed in terror. Suddenly, a flash of steel sliced the monster's tongue clean off. The terrified civilians were free. Yunsung saw the beast trying to bolt under the tower and yelled a warning to the others. A female hunter aimed her bow, firing an arrow that hit the monster's tail, slicing it off and stopping its getaway. Yunsung jumped down, landing a massive hit on the beast, and the monster went down hard. He followed up with one final punch, ending it instantly. And just like that, they got it. Yunsung approached him as the crowd went nuts. Everyone, desperately wanting his autograph. Our boy remembered something he learned about this world. So, A-rank hunters are the elite. The top 3% of all awakeners. They're a huge deal for city safety, and are basically celebrities to everyone. The crowd around him was buzzing with total excitement. The crowd was crushing him, making things super awkward. All of a sudden, Yunsung shouted his name, grabbing his hand to thank him. He remembered the gate incident, how our boy had helped him out. That's when it finally clicked for our protagonist. So that's why Yunsung's face rang a bell. Yunsung then asked, "Are you with this crew?" He'd seen our guy looking his way before, and with that deadpan stare aimed his way. Our hero thought Yunsung was mad. But in reality, Yunsung was just checking him out. Our guy felt a huge wave of relief when Yunsung changed the subject. He decided to roll with it. Yunsung formally introduced himself. "My name is Yun. If it's not too much of a bother." He asked for our hero's name. Our boy replied, "Kim Kiro." Seeing a chance to learn more, Yunsung asked Kim Kiro another question. He was dying to talk more. Yunsung really wanted to repay Kiro Hyung, but knew Kiro might not be on the same page just yet. Was there really no other way? He'd felt uneasy ever since Kiro just disappeared from the scene, especially since the guy saved his life. Meanwhile, Kim Kiro just remembered how he was running for his life. Desperate to get away, he was scared of getting nabbed by the cops. Still, it wasn't weird for an A-class hunter to want to repay a big favor. With a spark of excitement in his eyes, Yunsung heard there was something he could do to help. Kiro Hyung pulled up a map on his phone, asking Yunsung to join him at a gate for a while. Not long after that, they were standing inside a forest-like dungeon. Yunsung, though, had been looking pretty worried ever since they got there, which made Kim Jae-rok ask what was bugging him. Yunan just said, "Nah, it's nothing." But Jae-rok insisted, "Let's hustle a little." But Yunan was still tripping, finding it hard to believe a top-tier hunter like Kiro Hyung would ever need his help. See, just a minute ago, Yunan was all hyped up. Like, "It's a huge honor to run this gate with a pro like you," asking if he was just there to farm some materials. But our MC, Kiro Hyung, totally blindsided him by saying he was there to clap some monster cheeks. Shook. Yunan admitted he was hoping to pick up a few pointers, but he also needed to get something straight. He felt like he was misreading Kiro's whole vibe, especially since he was just a lowly F-class hunter. So, Kiro Hyung was basically like, "I'm counting on you to be my support." But Yunan's jaw dropped when he peeped our boy Kiro's license. His brain was screaming, "Ain't no way this dude is an actual F-class." Word on the street was that some mid to high tier awakened were faking their ranks to dodge the association's draft, since they get called up for every dungeon break. So, was Kiro Hyung hiding his power level for that reason? Before he could think more, they hit a spot with pools of molten lava, and it was crawling with monsters. Just like in the forums, a flame spitter was blocking their path. Our MC Kiro Hyung gave him a blank stare. So Yunan explained that Korea's analyzer had a major translation bug for a bit. Apparently, that monster was first found in Ohio, of all places, since it's basically a bat that flies around on fire. It got logged as fire bat in Pixie, but the wonky translation gave it the goofy name flame spitter instead. Right on cue, bats started pouring out of the mist, swarming them. Our boy Kiro then reached into his pocket for a little something, and Yunan, who'd been eyeing him this whole time, finally asked, "Yo, what's in that little pouch?" The monsters rushed in for the kill, but Kiro yeeted a handful of dirt at them, and they burst into flames. Then, our boy just calmly explained, "It's a little something for emergencies. Performance is 1 to 100% guaranteed." Yunan was shocked and kinda nervous to ask mid-fight, but finally blurted out, "Why are you so obsessed with using items? You could literally throw hands with C-class monsters and win." Our boy was just thinking, did this dude read my license with his feet or what? Or is he just that clueless about low-rank life? Sitting on his throne at the top of the hunter food chain, figuring he didn't need to air out his dirty laundry, he turned to Yunan and asked, "You ever stop and think about this awakening thing? Like, imagine lifting a 1-ton truck or flooding an empty lot with water. Pretty handy power to have. Am I right? But it's not like we worked for this. It just popped up out of nowhere one day." He paused, then added, "And since it showed up for no good reason, it could totally just vanish for no reason, too." This whole power thing made him feel very uneasy, which is why he never depended on his awakening skills. He thought with a nervous look, "This is total BS. But this guy is gonna eat it up," and Yunan totally bought it, yelling that he was 100% right. "Easy come, easy go. Man, That's what they always say. He was screaming internally about how much sense it all made. He added, plus, with how gates are trending, mutations are getting way more random. So this is just prepping for a day when their skills might totally fizzle out inside a dungeon. Yunun, totally hyped, told Kiro Hyang he's a genius with major foresight, while Kim Jae-ruk was just facepalming hard, mortified. He then clued in that high-level awakeners can basically sense stuff with their gut, kinda like getting chills around S-class hunters. He'd always brushed it off as his imagination, since to him, it was like a fly buzzing. Hearing this, the guy was floored, thinking, what did I just say to Al's top mage? A fly. He was mind-blown. If he trained his control, could he also cloak his mana? He'd never witnessed such insane control. This new info wasn't making him happy at all. And he thought, so awakening levels really are just mana pools. Let's roll with that. He replied, more or less. Yeah. He then offered to team up again anytime, but was told his debt was already settled. The guy explained he could learn a ton just by hanging around him. See, the thing is, his team broke up after an accident a while back, and it's been less than 6 months since he even awakened. Going solo is risky with his lack of experience, but making a new team is no cakewalk. And he knew that too, after getting backstabbed by a teammate. But deep down, our boy gets it. If he offered help, he wouldn't say no, but warned, don't expect a rescue if it gets dicey. Our boy said he has to look out for number one, since he can't protect him. If they teamed up for a fight, he'd totally lose. He admitted, cause he's just that weak. About that golem incident, his response was, just a bit. The real issue, he pointed out, was the other guy being too reckless. The other dude listened in awe, totally misreading his words and thinking he was just being humble. Then he asked our guy's age, saying he was 22 years old. That's when our boy realized he had no clue how old Kim Kiro was. So they swapped numbers and he flashed his ID card, which was right on the back of his phone. Turns out our boy is 24, which left Yunnan stunned by the mere 2-year age gap between them. Our slick protagonist got the info he needed. No college memories, and his phone contacts were a total ghost town. Our boy had to wonder, who the heck is Kim Kiro? What life has he lived? Meanwhile, some dude was chilling on his couch, listening to news on the rising gate mutations nationwide. The Hunter Association was still clueless about the cause, even among top-tier assessors, which was just freaking out the general public more. The guy listening was a jacked dude with a blue head. Yesterday, he got a text from Yunsung, asking if our boy wanted to see something awesome the next day. Yunsung had first dibs on a new gate. Without a second thought, our boy replied, heck yeah. How could he say no to a VIP tour of something cool in Korea? When a new gate pops up, access is locked down, and a scout team is sent in once the association gives the all clear. The gate opens to the public, and today was the grand opening. Rumor had it, a strange plant was found inside this new gate, and maybe it was the key to getting his magic back. He just needed to scope out the plant near the entrance and dip. A huge crowd had gathered. So our boy asked, are all these people actually going in? Yunsung replied, nah. Most are probably just looky-loos and reporters. But dang, way more people showed up than he figured. Then a cherry-red supercar zooms by, totally grabbing our hero's focus. The ride screeched to a halt right before them, and a door swings open. Out steps some dude with bright blue hair. It's Kong Chong. Our boy's like, who's that guy? Yunnan whispers. That's Hunter Kong Chong, the S-rank powerhouse. An S-rank, one of only 3 in Korea. Our boy mused. Kong Chong's mana felt super stable. Yeah, this guy's the real deal. Then, bam. Kong Chong snaps his head towards our boy, Kim Jae-ruk. His eyes were freaky, and Yunnan quietly hissed. They're dragon eyes. Supposedly, a super rare item. Yunnan just stared, confused, as Kong Chong walked right up to them. He gets right in our boy's face. What's your name? Our hero's like. Pardon. Kong Chong says it again. So he spills Kim Cuo. Then he pressed him for his hunter rank. Junun, trying to de-escalate, told Kong Chong he was just a simple porter helping him out. Yunnan asked, is there, some kind of problem? But Kong Chong snapped back that he wasn't talking to Yunnan. That shut him up quick. Our boy just flatly stated. If rank. Kong Chong clearly didn't believe him. Is that true? Our hero wondered if he'd sensed the dormant mana in his body. Mana, you see, is basically a power output system. Just cause his breathing control was top tier didn't mean his total mana pool got any smaller. A mage on Kong Chong's level could probably size up someone's potential from the tiniest energy leak. If he didn't believe him, our boy could just show his ID. But Kong Chong said only a true F rank would have the guts to stare down an S rank and answer so boldly. Before this whole thing could escalate, Yunnan jumped back in, shoving our boy away. They just came to peek. And now it was time to bounce. If they don't get going, they'll be late for their meeting. Our hero glanced back at Kong Chong, who was just silently staring. Then Yunnan asked, You seriously don't know who Hunter Kong Chong is? Were you living under a rock? Our boy nervously says. Yeah. I've been away for a bit. He was trying not to sound like a gossip. 'Cause that hunter's reputation isn't great. Our boy was completely confused. So Yunnan explained the guy has an assault record. Nobody wants to raid a gate with an S rank with a criminal past. And even if you ignore his past, the recent rumors are just as bad. Our boy had to ask what was up. Yunnan said his cousin, Choi Jin, who's the number 3, A ranker, went into a gate with Kong Chong, and he straight up attacked her. Apparently, Kong Chong only throws down with powerful awakeners. Our boy realized Yunnan had hustled him away because he was worried the Psycho S rank would start something. What a good dude. So, they decided to call it a day, and decided to scope out that weird plant some other time. Our hero then asked Yunnan about Kong Chong's eyes, the ones he called a dragon's eyes item. So, could you, like, buy and sell it? Just like that shield Kong Chong was rocking, Yunnan confirmed it. When he first got it, it was a tiny orb. He probably just, swallowed the thing to activate it. So, are there any dragon's lungs for sale? Yunnan checked the market and saw there were only records of past sales. Nothing was listed right now. But since lungs aren't a hot item, one might pop up on the market sooner or later. Our hero asked why they're not a big deal and how much they cost. Yunnan said that, unlike eyes or hearts, lungs no mana boost. Livers could be made into meds. But lungs were apparently just useless. And the price, 2.6 billion won. Our boy's mind was blown. While Yunnan was like, that's a bargain, he couldn't even score other parts, no matter the cost. Our poor alien should have just worn earplugs. A taxi was zipping down the road, and our hero was scrolling on his phone. The more he read up on Kong Chong, the more terrifying this dude seemed. It was insane that a guy like him was just walking around free. Maybe he should have just avoided eye contact. What if he became his next target? Then bam, a red car T-boned the taxi out of the blue. Our boy was jolted as the cab smashed into a building. The driver, worried sick, checked on his passenger and saw he was okay. The cabbie then stormed out, fuming at the other driver, who got out and apologized. Looking super regretful, it was Kong Chong, who claimed he hadn't driven in a while, and, whoops, mixed up the gas and the brake. Our hero was baffled to see Kong Chong here. Kong Chong said he didn't want to just leave it at that. So he asked our guy if he could snag his contact information. Our boy wondered how you could be that bad at driving to crash on a totally empty road. Meanwhile, the driver, stammering his name, Kong Chong, handed him a wad of cash. And the taxi driver thanked him. Kim Jae-ruk was just wondering how much it could be. Kong Chong asked again if he could grab his contact info. He'd just spent all his on-hand cash, so it seemed they'd have to sort out his medical bills over time. He had no clue what Kong Chong meant, but figured this was just normal accident procedure. It was just a phone number. What's the big deal? And so our naive alien went ahead and handed over his phone. Kong Chong, the one and only son of a big shot CEO, was basically born with a silver spoon in his mouth. He became a hunter, but soon racked up a record for aggravated assault. With his family's insane wealth, you'd think he'd just hire a slick lawyer and walk. But nope. He was actually sentenced to do some time. Tons of stories online claimed Kong Chong was a total bully to others. However, there was a much bigger problem. His parents had died a few years back during a dungeon break. And right after that whole incident, Kong Chong sold off every last share he inherited from the family biz. He basically just dismantled his family's legacy. People used his sketchy awakening timeline as the reason. Rumors flew that Kong Chong assaulted people for cash, but nothing was ever proven. Kong Chong asked if he was off to look after that girl again. He found it kind of strange that a guy with his skills was working as a simple porter, knowing there were jobs that paid way better. He then asked if he was interested in hearing about them. Kong Chong was grinning from ear to ear. Our boy cursed Yunnan in his head, thinking, I really need you now. A little later, Yunnan was floored by news of a car crash involving Kong Chong. He'd said he had plans with our boy and bolted. But now that he thought about it, it seriously felt like that jerk had caused the accident on purpose. Yunnan realized it was true. Kong Chong was targeting strong hunters. He figured our boy only avoided him before thanks to Kiro. An A rank, a guy like him would be a target for Kiro. But with Kong Chong here, our boy wouldn't even stand out enough to be noticed. That guy's gotta be powerful. Our boy wondered what to do. Should he dial the cops? But what could he possibly even say? He pictured telling them an S rank, Hunter promised to protect him, and even give him some sweet items. So he just decided to forget the whole thing. He asked, did you watch the news and brought up how Korea ranked second last year in gate management excellence? While those weird mutations were still a major issue, the damage to civilians had been massively reduced. Our alien pal thought this mammal had a real talent for picking conversation topics. The whole gate concept was fascinating to him too, as it was like a mini version of his own life. On one day, back in 2017, a strange phenomenon appeared all at once across the world: the gates, the monsters, and the awakened. Magic works by pulling mana from the planet's core. But unlike Alfri, Earth's rocky crust should have made it super hard for mana to surface. But those gates that showed up 7 years ago basically acted like giant wells for sucking up mana. And because of that, some folks who got a dose of that mana became awakened. However, people still don't really get how normal gates work. He was lost in it all. As Yunnan called his name, he asked, hey, you feeling all right? He'd just spaced out for a second there. So he quickly apologized. Yunnan then asked him, what was on your mind? He was just picturing what it'd be like if he was the one who made the gates. He figured the whole situation would be pretty disappointing. Yunnan asked, why do you say that? He explained that no matter the reason, the monsters inside the gates always try to end them. The loot you find inside is just bait on a mousetrap. But what if the little rats learned how to snatch only the cheese? Wouldn't the big guys get mad? Yunnan replied. You know, now that you bring it up, that actually makes sense. Our boy felt this energy bubbling up like lava under his feet as Yunnan asked, what's up then? The mana started yanking him in. Yunnan watched in horror as a massive magic tornado swirled around him, and he got sucked right in. When he finally opened his eyes, he was standing in a long, white hallway. Our boy thought, wait, am I actually inside the... It doesn't get much worse than facing monsters in a dead end like this. He pressed on with a body that couldn't even cast one simple fire spell. How was he ever going to get through this? He then stopped in front of a massive gate. Next to it was a stone tablet, and it looked like there was some writing on it. Then he saw two guys walking up from both sides. One was Kong Chong. The other was Jong Hae Song. Our boy was thinking, who's that dude? They both stepped forward. Kong Chong mentioned he'd heard Jong Hae Song was over in Singapore, but the guy replied he just got back today. Our boy figured they weren't buddies, so he asked if they knew one another. Kim Curio just had to ask. They don't know Jong Hae Song, our boy thought. Hey, it's only been 2 weeks since I got to Earth. How was he supposed to know? Kong Chong snickered. Would you look at that? Guess you really have no idea who he is? You should probably get out more. Kong Chong explained. This here is Jong Hae Song, the #1 ranked hunter in all of Korea. The guy was way more impressive than our boy expected. Kong Chong added, out there, people call him a national hero. But since you're clueless, we'll skip that. Jong Hae Song. This is Kim Kiro. He's an F rank. Our boy then said, Jong Hae Song. He replied, pleasure to meet ya. Kim Kiro. Our boy's thinking, why's this dude staring so hard? Jong Hong skipped the pleasantries and got right to it, asking, so, did you guys get yeeted in here out of nowhere too? They both just nodded, our heroes wondering, is that thing some kind of scanner? One thing was for sure, they were in a gate, and it was rank X. This was a huge pain. He thought, what's an X rank again, and tried to look it up. But his phone was totally bricked. Kong Chong didn't even have a case on his. If they didn't bail soon, the gate's interference would fry his phone for good. Something was carved on the slab. The symbol of true faith shall become the key. Welp, that's the riddle for this gate. Looked like the only way forward was through that door. Jong Hae-song gave it a shove. But the thing wouldn't budge an inch. He called out, "Hunter Kong Chong." A little help. His own strength wasn't cutting it. Looked like he had no other option. So he stepped up to the plate. And the two of them shared a look. Jong Hae-song blasted the door with a fire explosion as Kong Chong unleashed his green magic. Our boy was just stunned. Thinking. Among all the mana users, S-rank hunters are a different breed. They're an elite few blessed with insane talent. Guys with monstrous power. And yet they couldn't open one stupid door. After a moment, though, they came to a realization. This thing can't be opened with brute force. He had to check the statue. So he told them, "Well, looks like this is the only option left." Kong Chong stepped up. And there was a hole that was practically begging for an arm. No freaking way. But if our boy couldn't get this door open, they were basically trapped for good. They'd come in totally unprepared. So if this dragged on, they were gonna run out of snacks. Jong Hae-song went to the lion statue, stuck his arm inside, and that triggered the door. He noticed the guy beside him looking nervously at his arm. So our hero asked, "Yo, what's up?" 2 little puncture marks were on the dude's arm, and it looked like he'd been juiced. Our boy was totally stunned. He tried yanking his arm out, but no matter how much he fought it, the thing wouldn't move. He was at the point of thinking he'd have to chop his own shoulder off. Kong Chong glanced back, then just started walking on, calling out, "Well, the door's open. Let's get a move on. Shall we?" But our hero was getting a seriously bad vibe about all this. Kong Chong totally flinched when he looked back at that lion statue again. They couldn't just stand around. They had to bounce. So he powered through it again. The door opened, and they kept on moving, only to see another freaking statue up ahead. Our boy was not thrilled about sticking his arm in that lion's mouth a second time. But it looked like the only way to get the door open. Jong Hong told Hunter Kong Chong it was his turn to open the next one, saying the blood-sucking rate had changed. That first door wasn't really a huge deal, but the second one left him feeling a little lightheaded. He said that in these types of dungeons, the cost always goes up, so they needed to take turns. Kong Chong just shot back confidently, saying he was handling it just fine on his own. So why not just let him lead the way to the finish line? Hearing this, Jong Hae-song blew a gasket and accused our boy of not being a team player. Kong Chong clowned on him, asking if he even knew his own hunter rank. But Jong Hae-song wasn't having it and just repeated, "Hunter Kong Chong, cooperate." Kong Chong shot back, "And what if I don't?" Our MC was wondering if these two were about to throw down, when Kong Chong suddenly suggested something. "Hey, there's another hunter over there. Why not bug him?" The moment he said it, our boy totally froze up. Remembering the survival rate for an X-rank gate was just 60%. No monsters yet. But this place was a death trap, a maze that needs a blood offering to progress. And the tribute hole only fits one person's arm. In other words, this dungeon demanded a human sacrifice. And to make it even worse, they were completely screwed. Jong Hae-song was totally livid at the idea. An F-ranker's job when 2 S-ranks are here? He scoffed. Then, out of nowhere, they all looked up to see a wolf-like monster charging right at them. Our boy was shook. This place was supposed to be empty. When the beast lunged for him, he did, the only thing he could shut his eyes and brace for impact like a pro. But Jong Hae-song jumped in, blasting it with fire magic and instantly slicing the monster clean in two. Our MC couldn't help but think, flames from nothing, is this some kind of old-school sorcery? If that's true, then his power must be. Just then, he saw a monster sneaking up on Kong Chong and yelled out his name on instinct, warning him to look out. Kong Chong whipped around and just decked the monster right in its ugly mug, one-shotting it instantly. Seeing that crazy power, our boy had to wonder, is Kong Chong's skill some kind of physical boost? Kong Chong noted the monster felt kinda weak, probably around the level of a C-rank mob at most. Jong Hae-song warned them not to get cocky just yet. "Check that out," he said, pointing to weird monster drawings on the wall. All of a sudden, the monster from the drawing started to materialize, lunging right at them and swarming from all sides. Jong Hae-song told them, they're not high-rank mobs, but fighting this many at once is going to be a real pain. You've got the rear. Hunter Kong Chong, he commanded, already focusing on his own targets as the monsters charged in. Both of them braced for the fight. Kong Chong started smashing monsters with his fists, while Jong Hae-song carved through them with his flame sword. Kong Chong threw out a massive punch, totally wiping out a monster in a single blow. But the monsters just kept on swarming. So Jong Hae-song cranked up his attacks, burning through the horde with his fire skills. Our boy was just watching, amazed by their S-rank power. But there were way more monsters than Jong Hae-song expected. From the blood offering, his stamina was draining fast, bleeding out energy at a crazy rate. At this pace, he knew he couldn't keep this up much longer. He glanced at the statue, saw its eyes glowing red, and it all clicked. Just then, a monster tried to get the jump on him, but he just spun around and casually diced it in 2 clean hits. Heavy breathing. They were both getting worn out from the sheer number of these things. Our boy was stunned by how they just wiped out all those monsters in a flash. Even if he got his magic back, taking over the earth might be a little tricky. Jong Hae-song pointed at the lion statue, telling them to look. Its eyes were glowing menacingly. If they don't make a blood offering in time, it triggers another huge wave of these monsters. A monster started phasing through the wall, and our boy, with eagle eyes, yelled for Jong Hae-song before the thing could even blink. Jong Hae-song instantly one-shotted it with his blade. Wait, does this mean we're on a timer? He wondered out loud. Suddenly, monsters started pouring from the walls, leaving our boy totally shook. Jong Hae-song then shouted for Kong Chong, who instantly bolted for the statue just as the monster swarm began their assault. Jong Hae-song shielded our boy from a flurry of claws and fangs. Meanwhile, Kong Chong, in a flash, slammed his hand into the statue's mouth. Poof, the monsters were gone, and the next door opened. Kim Kiro was shocked he actually cooperated without a fuss. Kong Chong looked around, asking, "All right, who's up?" Jong Hae-song just replied, "We're taking turns." They doubted an F rank could take the strain. But Kim Kiro saw why Jong Hae-song was a hero the second he saw Kong Chong's F rank status. Jong Hae-song had instantly taken him off the sacrificial lamb list and even shielded him when the monsters appeared, all thanks to Jong Hae-song's big brain leadership. They were clearing rooms without a single drop of blood being spilled, but Kim Kiro was starting to feel a little guilty. Yeah, they were making progress. But at what cost? Jong Hae-song, however, looked totally drained, making Kim Kiro ask, "Is he all right?" Jong Hae-song just brushed it off, saying he was fine. These pop-up gates are usually small. We're probably not far from the exit. But his face was turning a lovely shade of ghost white. Fortunately, it was Kong Chong's turn at the door. He looked at Jong Hae-song and basically told him to hold his horses for a sec. Jong Hae-song was baffled. So Kong Chong laid it out. He'd realized there was zero guarantee the exit was through this next door. Besides, everyone was getting worn out. Maybe we missed a clue somewhere, he pointed out. He proposed they backtrack and double-check the other rooms. Jong Hae-song, now pissed, accused Kong Chong of just stalling for time. When raiding an X-rank gate, you follow the rules. Period. He knew that just as well as Jong Hae-song did. So what was his deal? Or are you planning to jump Jong Hae-song when the monsters attack? Pulling another one of those Choi incidents. Kong Chong just stood there, taking it all in. Then, dead serious, he said, "I'm not gonna argue. Just open the door." He shot back that he'd open it now, and told the guy to chill out already. He never said he wouldn't play ball with the plan. Jong Hae-song was getting it all twisted. What went down with Choi Jin was an accident. He wasn't some psycho who just attacks other hunters for fun. Since he had a rap sheet, he got why Jong Hae-song was wary of him. But right now, Jong Hae-song was being way too paranoid about him. Why does Jong Hae-song keep rushing things? Is it because he's just that desperate to escape? He opened the door for now. But seriously, man, he really needed to think about what was said. Even if it was my turn, I'd have suggested we go back and check first. Wow. He was more level-headed than Kim Kiro gave him credit for. As he put his hand in the statue, Kim Kiro couldn't help but think, maybe those rumors were just a bunch of trash talk. Jong Hae-song was worried. But Kim Kiro said, "Don't stress over him. Kong Chong has some recovery potions. He can probably pop the door open a couple more times after chugging those." Jong Hae-song then told him, "Let's just push on a bit more. If the next room isn't the exit," he declared, "then we'll find a different strategy." On the other hand, Kim Krio wondered if he'd have to start carrying Kong Chong. His train of thought derailed when Kong Chong cold-cocked Jong Hae-song with a bottle. The guy went out like a light, crumpling to the floor right in front of Kim Kiro. Kong Chong was shocked the bonk actually worked on an S-ranker. Kim Kiro was just totally floored by his crazy move. He turned to Kim Kiro, asking, "Ever hear of a gate called Iron Maiden that popped up over in Northern Europe? It's basically a carbon copy of this dungeon. To get out." Kong Chong's big plan was to sacrifice Jong Hae-song, and Kim Kiro was completely blindsided by this. Kong Chong said, "Stats for X-rank dungeons show a survival rate of only 60%, regardless of the hunter's rank. Those aren't exactly great odds to bet your life on." Huh, Kim Kiro thought. Feeling super sketched out, Kong Chong just wanted to make sure they stuck to the script. But when Kim Kiro really considered it, logically, the twisted plan started to click. If this dungeon really demanded a sacrifice, they'd need a fall guy for sure. Ideally, it'd be Kong Chong or Jong Hae-song. But Kim Kiro knew he had zero say in who would be the unlucky tribute. Probably smartest to just roll with the S-ranker's plan. Still, Kim Kiro couldn't help but ask himself, making an F-ranker bite the bullet with 2 S-rankers right here, that just felt seriously messed up. Totally wrong. Kim Kiro told him to hold up, promising he'd open the next door. "So just put Jong Hae-song down." A surprised Kong Chong asked. "What? Did he suddenly grow a conscience?" Kim Kiro was fuming. He should have just kept his mouth shut and let someone else be the bait. But nope. He had to be the hero. It wasn't like Kim Kiro was really in a spot to be making any kind of demands. Though, how the heck was he gonna save Jong Hae-song? Kong Chong then told him the trial should be wrapping up soon. But when they cracked the door open, they were stunned to see the exit. Even wilder was the magic tool sitting on the female statue. Kim Kiro moved closer, totally drawn to it. Kong Chong was so sure they needed a living sacrifice to clear, which is why he went for Jong Hae-song. If that guy woke up and snitched, he'd be in some seriously hot water. In Kim Kiro's hands was a reward, and he quickly figured out it was a magic tool. Kim Kiro turned to him and said, "Hey, when Jong Hae-song wakes up, you should probably use this to say you're sorry." Pissing off the #1 hunter wasn't something Kong Chong could just sweep under the rug. The association would never let that slide. Things would have been way simpler if they had just sacrificed the dude. But, since they were still in the gate, a dark thought crossed his mind. Should I just off him now? He then shot a look at Kim Kiro and said, "His body will just vanish when the gate closes anyway. The only real problem here is the witness." From his point of view, there was no reason to keep his mouth shut about Kong Chong trying to off Jong Hae-song. It dawned on Kim Kiro that this psycho was planning to kill him too. To Kong Chong, Kim Kiro was being a drama queen and just needed a small favor. Kong Chong leaned his head on Kim Kiro's shoulder and, with a super creepy tone, asked if he'd testify that he knocked out Jong Hae-song. See. Kong Chong's eyesight got a massive boost from a rare item he had called the Dragon's Eye, which he snagged from an A-rank monster called the Green Dragon. This Dragon's Eye gave him super clear vision to spot things far away. It boosted his magic, and even let him size up other people's awakening levels. With these eyes, he didn't need to guess, to squint. And then bam, did his eyes just play tricks on him? Nope. It was our boy dropping some weird-looking magic. It was a spell Kong Chong had never witnessed. And the power output wasn't huge, but it hinted at times that time skill, the one every hunter on Earth was dying to find. And when our boy revealed he was an F-rank hunter, Kong Chong instantly got the picture. An F-rank just staring him down without flinching. For regular folks or weak awakened, top-tier hunters were basically walking monsters. It had been ages since Kong Chong could hit a convenience store without feeling on edge. The idea of Kim Kiro as an F-rank was just absurd. So Kong Chong, getting super curious, couldn't help but poke the bear and provoke Kim Kiro a little. Whether it was a sudden car crash or a crazy offer worth hundreds of millions of dollars, Kim Kiro's face was a total blank slate. And for Kong Chong, who was used to being the main character his whole life, he found himself kinda digging Kim Kiro's total indifference. So no, this wasn't about Kim Kiro's attitude getting under his skin. All Kim Kiro needed to do was say one thing: that things got heated in the raid, and he had to cool Jong Hae-song off. Kim Kiro asked, "And if I say no?" Kong Chong shot back. "Then you can't go alone." Honestly, Kong Chong could have handled the Jong Hae-song problem by himself. But what really had him hooked was what power Kim Kiro was hiding. Kong Chong figured that if Kim Kiro was actually hiding a secret, he'd have to react to this crazy threat. But surprise, our boy just agreed, saying he'd already put Jong Hae-song down for a nap. This threw Kong Chong for a loop. There wasn't a single trace of fear on Kim Kiro's face. This meant he wasn't caving to Kong Chong's threat. He figured maybe it was to dodge a fight entirely. Thinking back, Kong Chong remembered Kim Kiro saying he currently couldn't get into S-rank gates, which hinted that he used times to be able to. Kong Chong wondered if Kim Kiro was secretly a top-tier awakened being. If he'd purposely nerfed his magic to bug level. It must feel as awful as being gagged and tied down. Totally suffocating. Because of all this, Kong Chong had no clue what kind of awakened being Kim Kiro really was. But for real, why drop his awakening level all the way to F rank? Kong Chong was determined to dig deeper, even if it seemed crazy. They finally escaped the dungeon. And our boy somehow made it out alive as they stepped into the open air. A huge crowd was waiting for the hunters to emerge from the third exit as well. Kim Kiro was baffled by how many people were there. Then the press flipped on their cameras and started blasting our boy with questions. He looked around and saw every single exit was just jammed with spectators. The reporters' jaws dropped seeing two S-rank hunters, Jong Hae-song and Kong Chong, walk out of the gate. Especially with Jong Hae-song knocked out. Then, a young reporter walked up to Hunter Kong Chong, wanting a statement. She was full of questions. But one question was burning. She asked him, "Why is Hunter Jong Hae-song out cold?" She obviously wasn't buying that he just fell for some gate trap. Kong Chong replied, "Nah." There was a little disagreement inside the gate. Picking a scapegoat. "Eyeing Kim Kiro," he mused. So that dude took out Jong Hae-song. Kim Kiro's inner monologue went, "Total BS." The second Kong Chong was out. She heard it and just lost it, screaming her head off at the guy. Our boy was just glad the association lady had her head on straight. At least, she pointed a finger and accused him. "Weren't you the one who did that to Jong Hae-song?" Kong Chong smirked, a bit ticked off, thinking to himself, "Dude, stop just standing there and say something." Kim Kiro was cornered. So he confessed, "Yeah, it's true. I'm the one who took down Hunter Jong Hae-song." The crowd went silent. But Kong Chong was grinning like a madman. He began to explain. "I wasn't trying to hurt the guy." She shot back. "No way. Unless another S-rank did it." Kong Chong lied. "Nope. Wasn't me." Playing the victim, Kong Chong swayed and asked, "Do I look like I could have done a thing to Jong Hae-song right now?" Kim Kiro knew Kong Chong had lost a good bit of blood in there too, even if it wasn't a life or death situation. Next thing, the press mobbed Kim Kiro, grilling him about Jong Hae-song. And our boy just straight up admitted, "Yup, I did it." Meanwhile, across town, Jong Hae-song saw the news and was absolutely raging, screaming, "Kim Kiro, he did this to me." A bit later, our boy is grabbing a bite with Yoon S, who's asking if that whole mess was for real. Kim Kiro got why Yoonan was in such a rush to meet and was like, "Yeah, that's pretty much how it went down. Since Yoonan got tangled in that X-rank gate." Kim Kiro checked. "You didn't get messed up, did you?" Yoonan was thanking him for the save. Just then, Kim Kiro's phone starts buzzing. Our boy tells Yoonan to hang on a sec while he takes the call. He answered, wondering who it was. And surprise, it's freaking Jong Hae-song on the line. He told Yoonan to go ahead and eat, saying he left his number with the association to personally apologize for what happened. Jong Hae-song was stumped on how to apologize. He had a million questions about what went down yesterday inside that gate. So he's wondering, was it really me who took that kid out? Jong Hae-song came clean to Kim Kiro, saying he just blacked out that day and can't recall a single thing before or after. He had a hunch it was probably Hunter Kong Chong's doing, but he couldn't be 100% sure. From what he said, Jong Hae-song recalled getting clocked on the back of the head and spinning around. The real issue was what he saw next. So, Jong Hae-song asked if Kim Kiro could fill him in. This put our boy Kim Kiro in a really tough spot, since the S-rank hunter was obviously clueless. Meanwhile, the crazy news reports just kept on coming. Should Kim Kiro just spill that Kong Chong made him do it? But why would Jong Hae-song believe him? Later, Kim Kiro did some digging and found out that Jong Hae-song's national hero title isn't because he's some righteous dude or anything of the sort, but it's just from his insane number of gate clears. In other words, he's a workaholic who's only obsessed with clearing gates. Would a guy like that really stick his neck out for an F rank? And could he even take on Kong Chong to begin with? With Yoonan listening in, Kim Kiro apologized to Jong Hae-song and confessed that he was the one who put him to sleep, who had this shocked look on his face as he listened. Kim Kiro then claimed he was actually planning to offering himself as the fall guy. He even dangled an apology gift, an item that dropped as a reward from the dungeon. Jong Hae-song fuming, asked if Kim Kiro was messing with him. With his secretary hearing their entire conversation, continued, saying this was something they could have settled with just a simple conversation. And now Kim Kiro figured he could fix it with a cheap item. Jung Hae-song said his behavior was just plain disgusting. Blindsiding him in a gate made his intentions crystal clear. He planned to use him as bait to escape in one piece, now that he thinks about it. Hunter Kong Chung knew Kim Kiro. Were those two working together from the very start? Kim Kiro insisted it was all a big misunderstanding. With a grim look, Jung Hae-song asked if Kim Kiro was really an F rank. Kim Kiro just said there were some special circumstances. Deciding this was a huge waste of his time. Jung Hae-song told him he'd be keeping an eye on him. Kim Kiro tried to explain more, begging Jung Hae-song to wait. But he just hung up. The call was long. So, Jung Hae-song apologized. His assistant replied, "No worries, Hunter." She then handed him the info he asked for. The guild had moved fast and all of the articles had been taken down. He then started scrolling through the comments from the paper. She told him that he really shouldn't read those comments. Jung Hae-song shot back. The articles are gone. But everyone knows. Now the world sees S-rank hunters aren't gods. People are starting to freak out. In her personal opinion, it was pretty obvious Hunter Kong Chong was the one behind all of this. She'd checked the hunter's background as requested and told him he was, in fact, listed as an F rank. Jung Hae-song thought about it for just a moment. But the story wasn't adding up. He told her if that hunter was a real F rank, Kong Chong wouldn't have let him walk away. He also added, why would Kong Chong bother with a deal or force an F rank to take the fall for him? He wouldn't have to go that far. He could have just offed him. Then his mind went to Kim Kiro's eyes as he watched him fall. They didn't look like he was seeing a person, but more like a piece of trash. That freezing, empty stare haunted him. Since his awakening, Jung Hae-song had never felt so creeped out by another person. As he mulled it over, he told her the rank was probably faked and to get the association on the phone immediately. He'd be requesting a reevaluation of Kim Kiro's awakening level. Skills is the term for the superpowers of awakened people. Every awakened person gets at least one skill the moment they get their new powers. But the planet's magic has some strict rules. Mages can only use the magic type they awakened with from the start. If they want to use another kind of magic, they must pay a massive price for a magic tool called a skill stone. But Kim Kiro is a special case. He can use any skill on Earth as long as he meets the right conditions. Plus, the guy's a genius. The issue, however, is that he's not able to show off any of that talent right now. And what's worse, this whole incident has gotten the attention of all the S-ranks and other big shots. So he's been scrambling and researching like crazy. And he's finally found a way to use a magic amplifier. His body is wrecked, so his magic pipeline is totally busted. But since he's still breathing, he has a tiny trickle of internal magic left. He's going to use that tiny bit to juice up a magic amplifier. But of course, the parts for it are locked up inside. He stood before the Korean Magic Tower, the very place that owns the gate. Suddenly, some guy blocks Kim Kiro, calling him a lowly F-rank hunter and saying no one gets in without an appointment. But Kim Kiro did make one for today. The dude just scoffed, calling it ridiculous, waving him off. He said, "Stop your lying and get out of here already." Kim Kiro was just about to bounce when Yoon-sung suddenly called out to him, apologizing for being so late. He explained that the office hit him with a surprise call and promised him it would just be a super quick chat. Kim Kiro was cool with it. Yoon-sung was his backup. After all, the guard was totally floored when he saw Hunter Yoon-sung. He immediately started showering Yoon-sung with compliments, and the two began to chat, leaving Kim Kiro in a super awkward spot. The guard wasn't even sure if the guildmaster was in the building today. Yoon-sung told him, she replied, and said she'd be here. Hearing that, the man reluctantly told them to go on in. As they stepped into the building, the guy apologized, explaining that, due to policy, F ranks aren't allowed inside for security. Yeah, that's the Korean Magic Tower. It's one of the biggest guilds, with tons of hunters on its payroll. They make most of their cash from hunter activities. Today, they've got a meeting scheduled with the head honcho of this place. She asked if he was here about the gate entry, then slid him a Korean Magic Tower visitor pass, saying the representative's office is way up on the top floor. There's an elevator right over there. Just take it up to the 60th floor. They headed to the 60th floor with some worry. Kim Kiro called out to Yoon-sung, saying something felt seriously wrong. Meanwhile, a red-haired lady was smirking somewhere else. He was positive he'd hit the button for the 60th floor. But they were still only on the 2nd floor. He asked if the elevator was busted. Yoon-sung apologized, explaining he forgot to mention it. But they were probably being tested. Seeing his confused face, Yoon-sung continued. There are some wild rumors about the tower's representative. The guildmaster has a pretty weird personality. She'll act like she's totally gonna meet you. But when visitors show up, they get chucked into a personal maze she made. Kim Kiro figured she only meets those who pass. He suggested taking the stairs, but when he opened the door, the scene was just ridiculous. They had just come up from the 2nd floor. Yet they somehow found themselves in the underground parking garage. He quickly told him to just head back to the 2nd floor. He asked how many people have passed this test before. Yoon-sung wasn't sure. He'd never heard of it and said maybe no one has passed. Kim Kiro scoffed. Come on. There's no way that not a single person has passed this thing, especially since the building staff must know the way. He replied. Only a few execs in the main office would know. He added. How are we supposed to clear a complicated maze like this by ourselves? Does she expect us to waste pricey items trying? He guessed it was because they urgently requested the visit. But to pull off a prank like this. What a terrible hobby. But this maze is seriously well made. Kim Kiro noted. Almost hyped to meet the sorcerer who actually built this magical labyrinth. Felt like a major hometown achievement. They were standing before a door when Yoon-sung asked if they should split up to find the path. Kim Kiro was like, chill. Even if I'm useless now, I've still got one trick up my sleeve. This magic setup is so basic. And these cavemen can't even find the way. Kim Kiro thought, his ego inflating. And just like that, he found the way to the top floor. Yoon-sung was shook. Kim Kiro had just one question for him, to clear the space behind an elevator door. Don't you just send the car to another floor? Yoon-sung was totally lost. So Kim Kiro broke it down. This is a vertical shaft. The box inside goes up and down. He told him to just hang on a sec. And Yoon-sung, still looking baffled, stared at Kim Kiro. Step 1, they had to call the elevator car. Step 2 was to hop inside and hit the button for a higher floor. Third, they had to bail fast before the doors shut. Kim Kiro told Yoon-sung to back up. Then, with a solid kick, he busted the door. A worried Yoon-sung watched it fall, showing the empty shaft behind it. Yoon-sung, still clueless, asked Kim Kiro what the plan was. Let's go. Yoon-sung. Kim Kiro shot back. Go where? Yoon-sung asked. This floor has a gate connecting to the one upstairs. Kim Kiro explained. Before he leaped, he started to float down. Landing safely. Yoon-sung had cleared way more dangerous cliffs inside gates. So why is this so freaky? He wondered. Looking up, when a voice said he actually made it. A gorgeous redhead spoke up. The quickest of all her maze challengers. She never figured he'd find the secret emergency escape route. That was pretty impressive, she said. But the freebie tour is over. From this point on, he'd be dealing with her. Esther, from the magic tower. She gestured for them to take a seat, then called out to Yoon-sung. The hunter. He looked shocked. She asked, could you introduce your friend here? From what I'm seeing, he looks like a skilled analyst. She then added, but with your sorry excuse for analysis skills, you'd never have escaped my little maze. She made the difficulty insane. Yet he cleared it way too easily. Kim Kiro wondered. Wait, did she make this maze? From the rumors, she had a unique personality. He went ahead and introduced himself as Kim Kwo. She was a fan of talented people. Kim Kwo. Let's get along. Since we both share a rare attribute. He was baffled, thinking, what is she even talking about? She clarified that awakeners with analysis-type skills are super rare, which makes him pretty special. 2. Yoon-sung chimed in. By the way, Esther, here is a curse attribute hunter. One of the very few in the whole world. Kim Kiro processed this, remembering he'd seen info about her company online. Esther, the curse attribute awakener, took down monsters with status effects like weakness and slow. He figured that back on Earth, most awakeners were like Jong Hae-song and Kong Chong, who awakened basic fire spells or the power to buff their strength. Awakeners like Yoon-sung, who pulled out defensive or healing magic, were even rarer. And those with special skills, like analysis, curse, or mind control, had to be crazy rare. He apologized for not recognizing her immediately, explaining he was a little behind on current events. She shot back. Looks like you've just been grinding in a cave somewhere. She'd been on TV quite a bit lately. But hey, with his impressive analysis skills, he probably had other priorities. An analysis-type awakener. Huh, dude's probably swamped with gigs. Anyway, enough with the chit-chat. She asks Yoon-sung what's up. And he says he's got business at their magic tower gate. He replies, but actually, it's not me who has business there. Kim Kurio needed to enter the gate, adding, Yoon-sung is just my wingman for the meeting. Since I'm such a low-rank awakener, the staff wouldn't even look at me. She clocks his F rank. She said, that's pretty standard for an analysis worker. Though you're scraping the bottom of the barrel. Even for them. He thought, ah. So that's what she meant by her maze. He didn't really find that strange. She straight up asks, why do you want to enter this gate? If you're here to farm resources, we've got a problem. She added, the materials from those trees, I barely have enough for myself. Our boy had zero plans to even look at the trees. She shot back. Wasn't it the fruits you wanted? Even so. It's tough for me to give permission. The analysis awakener here is from a different guild, since you rolled up with Yoon-sung. Does that make you a part of the Neo Sisters Guild? In any case, how much cash do you think it takes to lock down a single gate? I'm not about to line some other guild's pockets with our hard-earned profits. Still, if you're dead set on entering, I'd rather not have some random hunter show up. I prefer to handle things guild to guild. She told him. And just, for your information, I don't do favors or beat around the bush. So tell your guild, it's better for their rep to just quote a fair entry fee right from the get-go. He's thinking, what kind of insane loot is in a measly D-rank dungeon that's got her acting this territorial? She probably doesn't even know half the good stuff in here. He said, but, Hunter Esther. He began with an apology, explaining he's not actually with any guild. She looks confused. So Yoon-sung clarifies that he's a solo act. Kim Kurio added that while she called him an analysis worker, he's never actually done that kind of job in his life. The only industry contact he has is Yoon-sung. She's shocked to hear that helping him won't be feeding a rival guild. This was a legit personal request, and he had no plans to just waltz into someone else's gate for free. She tells him to hold on, then starts cackling like a maniac. Our boy is getting spooked. Thinking, why is she licking her lips like that? Kim Kurio hadn't even gotten to the juicy part yet. She gives this creepy smile, slams her fist on the table and yells at him. Why didn't you lead with that? He's just looking all confused. Then, with a total 180, she invites him. Come to the magic tower, say yes, and I'll give you the whole dang gate. He's secretly freaking out with joy as Yoon-sung whispers. Big guilds are drowning in magic stones and equipment. Folks with appraisal skills are basically unicorns. He's thinking, these plebs can't even eyeball a magic stone's purity. To not get ripped off in trades, they practically need an appraiser on a leash. Esther eagerly offers. The signing bonus is 500 million. He just gives her this look of concern, and she totally misreads the room, thinking he's scoffing at the amount. Esther grabs her head as Yoon-sung tries to calm her down, while Kim Kurio's brain is just calculating how many bowls of rice soup he could buy with 500 million. With a scoff, she told him, at the Korean Magic Tower, we've got plenty of top-tier appraisers on the payroll, so the workload's not going to be insane. He's thinking, just sort items at a desk and I'll be making bank. No more of that rough and risky hunter life. I'm so saying yes. Then she hit him with, plus, you'll only work 4 days a week. He was absolutely horrified by the word work. He reincarnated specifically to retire. You know, and now he's supposed to sign a contract and go back to the grind commutes. Overtime. Boss's morning greetings. And annoying customer complaints. No way in heck. He absolutely refused to work. Just as they were planning to add a bonus to the contract, Kim Kurio basically melted in a corner, full of despair, and apologized. He'd just act like he never even heard that offer. She asked him, so what's your price? Exactly, he replied. It's not about the money. To be clear, I have zero plans to join any guild. She looked him over, mulling it over, and said, if that's really how you feel. But are you positive about this? Since you're rejecting my offer, you'll have to pay the gate's entry fee solo. She doubted he could pull together that kind of money. But Kim Kurio loves a good negotiation. He knew of a wild material that if mixed with concrete or metal could be used for building exteriors. He added it would give a certain amount of resistance against skills. Even if a monster decided to attack, the building could take the hit without collapsing. It just absorbs mana, which keeps up a constant barrier. Covering the whole tower would be crazy expensive. But this info alone should be enough for the entry fee. He had more of this stuff, but he'd be willing to share it. Yunnan suddenly realized this was the item he used to beat the fire bats. Did that sand really have a mana-sucking function? He was a little hesitant to spill the beans now. Since folks are always poking around the gate, they would have found out about it eventually anyway. He figured he might as well sell it high before the price drops to bargain bin levels. She asked, "This sand really has that effect? You're really going to use such a huge piece of intel just to enter that gate?" He wasn't about to make this trade anywhere else either. She was acting all high and mighty. But now it's just that gate. He asked her, "So, should I promise not to tell anyone else?" She replied, "If that's the case, wouldn't you be on the losing end?" He explained. "That may be true, but I really don't need the spare change." He looked at him and added, "Think of it as helping out a fellow rare attribute user." Later on, Esther was in her office sipping coffee when her assistant called, asking, "Is something wrong?" She replied, "It's not that bad. I was just pulling a little prank on those guests from before." Hearing this, her assistant was completely shocked. She quickly asked, "You didn't put a hex on the visitors again, did you? Did you do something to those people earlier? It's not like I laid some heavy curse on them. The worst they'll get is stubbing their toes on furniture." Her assistant asked, "What kind of curse was it this time?" Esther answered, sneezing for 30 seconds. She then added, "But those guys from earlier didn't sneeze at all, did they?" When she activated her skill, they should have been sneezing their heads off by now. But suddenly that guy looked up and just stared her down. He was giving her a total death glare. He must have known right from the very start. An awakened who can just ignore her curse. When it even works on other S ranks, where in the world did this monster pop up from just then? A guy hands her a report with the appraisal results for the stuff that Hunter left behind. It actually has that absorption effect. To just hand over an item this insane, this guy must be trying way too hard to get on my good side. She mused. "Honestly, it's kinda creepy," she ordered. "Pull up Hunter Kim Curio's profile. I need to see what this dude's deal is." Meanwhile, he was yakking into a trash can, thinking, "Note to self, coffee is the enemy. Never again." He thought it was some fancy drink for VIPs, so he chugged the whole thing, only to realize it smelled like industrial glue from Alfri. She said it was for special guests, and she had the nerve to serve him this, to top it off. They totally made eye contact. She asked if the coffee wasn't his thing. Shaking, he choked out, "It's delicious." He couldn't just spit it out, because if he did, he'd look like a total weirdo. Oh, and plot twist. Kim Kuo's body is currently being puppeted by the magic of an actual alien. Unless someone's magic skills were way better than his, nobody could hijack his body through any method whatsoever. Not with drugs, hypnosis, or even a curse from an S-rank hunter. He hit a button on the vending machine, thinking back to that near-death experience. Yunnan then asked about the item Kim Curio gave to Esther before. When Kim Curio claimed he was the only one who knew, Yunnan added that he'd never even heard of a material like this before. Some kind of sand that can instantly snuff out fire, bat flames, or reinforce buildings. Yunnan asked if Kim Curio even realized how crazy valuable this miracle material was, since he just gave it to the magic tower without registering it with the association. So he asked, "You got a problem with the Hunter Association?" Kim Kuo said, no. He didn't really have any feelings about the association. He was just trying to get on Hunter Esther's good side. Surprised, Yunnan asked, "Wait, is Hunter Esther your ideal type?" Kim Kiro was like, "Nope, not at all. I have zero feelings for her." And so, Yunnan asked what Kim Kiro was trying to get by going through all this trouble just for the gate.